Recording has started.
Hi, today I'm going to show you how to design a Mastercam lesson. This one happens to be tutorial 3, exercise 2. So I'll bring up my Mastercam screen, and right now we're looking at a blank screen, and you would want to move this down. You'd want to turn on your axes. So you see those F9 toggles these on and off. So if you want to turn them on or off, then F9 will do that. Let me show you the part that we're going to be drawing. So here's the part, and we're going to talk about where would you want to have the origin of the part. So in this case, it seems like I probably would place the origin at this place here. This could be a symbol for the origin as well. So we could put the origin here. And there's a lot of information that's coming off of that. So in this case, I guess, why don't we go ahead and draw this as the origin. So I would start by creating this first circle and maybe another circle around that, and then drawing these other two circles, and just start kind of getting the part geometry on the screen to size. So everything is in inches up here, and this is a section view A-A, which refers to this cutting plane line, A and A, and this is as if you were to cut this part off right here and you're looking this direction. And so it's giving you some details about how deep that slot is, that it doesn't go all the way through, that this is solid material here, and that this is open. So this is how deep it is, how wide it is, and then how thick the whole part is as well. So a little bit about print reading there. You can see some other lines. These are center lines where they have the long and a little dash along. That would be what we call a center line. And the rest of these are more dimensioning lines. You can see that you have diameters called out with this circle with a little slash. Diameters are for anything that's an arc that completes a circle, whereas arcs are called out as radiuses. And then like this is times 2, so this one and this one would be equal to each other, but this one up here, right there, is a 1/2 inch radius. And these two inside ones are 1/8 inch radius times 2. So that'll kind of give you a little bit of print reading instruction. So let me minimize this and get back to Mastercam. So first thing we said is we're going to draw those circles. So we got to get into our wireframe tab, and you want to go circle center point. And in this case, you can actually just click right on the origin because that point already exists. And you can click and then drag the circle out, and when you're ready, just place it. And over on this side here is where you can put in the radius or the diameter. So the diameter, we look at our print, the diameter of that is 2 holes at 0.5, and they go all the way through. So 2 holes at 0.5. So put in 0.5 for the diameter. If you had to do multiple holes, you could lock this in, and this would always stay the same. So we could go ahead and put our other hole over on that other side. It's asking for a center point, and so we would have to know the distance that they're apart, which is a 3.5. So you'd hit the space bar. Did it over here, sorry. We hit apply to keep that one and create a new one. Let's see if I can come into the drawing area here and hit a space bar. See the white box that popped up? So the x value is first, so it'd be a minus 3.5 because we're going in the negative direction. And then it would be comma 0 in the y. So first value is x and the second value is y. So if we hit the enter, now we've got a circle there. This one here would apply it and we could do a new one, or if we hit check if we're all done with the circles. I'm going to go ahead and apply it. And then I'm going to change my diameter. I'm going to draw one of these so I can show you a couple different techniques. So I'm going to draw one of these circles. Instead of a radius, I'm going to do a diameter of, well, radius of 5/8, diameter would be 1 1/4. So you can see how to trim that out later. And then this one, I think we'll do like an arc polar, maybe just to give you some new stuff. So we need to change the radius to 0.625. If you, oh, not 625, 0.625, that's 5/8. If you didn't know what 5/8 was, you could take 5 divided by 8 and let Mastercam do your work. And you can see that that makes the diameter 1.25. And we can come in here and just click on this center point of this circle. And now we've got that arc on there. So we could do that same thing here, but let's teach you something new. So we're going to hit the green check mark. That gets us out of the command. The escape menu would do the same. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at your arc options. And what I'm looking for is, this is arc with 3 points, which could work. But I was looking for more of a drawing an arc with polar coordinates. Is what I was kind of thinking. So let me see what options we got here. So we've got an arc polar, and that's kind of a neat feature if you just know exactly where you want to start and stop yours. So what we're going to do is go ahead and put in our radius 0.625, and then here's our start angle. Our start angle and end angle, and you got to think of this as like a clock. 0 being here, 90 being here, 180 being here, 270. So we're going to start at 270 and go to 90. So type in 270 and then end at 90. See what the rest of this asks us. A define arc, that sounds right. So now we want a center point. So we got to tell it the center point of our arc. All right. And you can see we started here and it's sweeping that way. So we're going to go ahead and hit the green check mark because we're all done with making that arc. So that's a nice way to do that. If we didn't do that, we'd have to trim it. So let's put a line in here, and we can actually just go from this bottom quadrant to this and create an accurate line. And then we'll have to trim some stuff out. So I think I would just go ahead and sketch this one in there for now and kind of leave it long. And we've kind of started to get some shape to this thing. We could trim this part of the circle, but it might lose too much up here. So we're going to wait till we get this other fillet kind of in there, and then we'll do that afterwards. So looking at our drawing again here, we've kind of got this part kind of established. So what we really need to do is some construction lines so that we can find these points. So this is actually an arc right here. So we could do another arc, center point arc, and go ahead and draw this in there. We could draw an entire circle if we really wanted to, but we want to draw an arc through there, and we've got a 40-degree line coming off of 90. So you know, over here is 0. So if we do 40 degrees, it would draw it over here. So we're going to have to do a little bit of math to figure out where exactly we want to be there. Let's start with this first one here, and it shows that this radius from this center point is 2.215. 2.215. So let's go back into our Mastercam. Let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit here and then back over so I can let you see a little bit better. So in here, we can go ahead and do the same thing where we do arc endpoints or arc polar. let's try the arc endpoints to try something new. So we type in the radius, this 2.215, hit enter, and we click on the center point here. It's asking for the second point. I might have did this backwards. Yeah, I did it backwards. It's actually going to need. I'm going to undo that one. It wants me to select, so I'm hit escape and get out of that. Sorry about that. Let's do the arc polar one. So if we put in our center point and we come out here in sketch, we want to start up here at the top, and we can just kind of guesstimate at this point. And we want to swing that down. We don't have to be down here at 90, but probably like in here somewhere. And we want to put in the radius of 2.215. And that should give us enough of a arc to find our points there. So I think we'll go ahead and leave that. If we need to change it, we always can, but let's hit the green button for OK. And then let's change that to like a construction line. Or a center line even would be probably a better word. So if we click on this, we can come into here and we can say that it's a center line. So we can change that attribute of that one entity. Now there's arcs below and above that, and they've got some lines coming at angles. So let's change this back right now to center line so that everything we draw for a little bit will be center line, and we go to line commands. So remember, this is 90. We want to come 40 degrees off of that. So the angle, if you typed in 90 plus 40 degrees, oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at this wrong. Actually, let me show you. I'm sorry, that this is actually 40 degrees between these two and 120 degrees off of 0. So that number actually, then we can just type in 120 degrees. And we just made it on our line length to find that center point, because we want that. And so we can go ahead and hit this to keep that one. And then we want to do another one, and this one would be 120 plus 40. So we'd be at 160 for that one. And if you wanted it to be a specific length, you could put in there a length that you want. It doesn't matter so much as long as it gets through there. But if you were trying to be very neat and precise about it, then you should do that. All right, so now we've got some lines that are going to tell us where these points are, which are going to be important for creating those arcs. So looking back at our drawing here, this one on the outside is a 1/2 inch radius, so it'd be 1 inch diameter, and it's placed right off of that. And then we have two that are 1/8 inch ones on the inside here. So let's go ahead and put those 1/8 inch ones in first. So we're going to go circle center point, and we're going to type in 1/8 of an inch was the radius, so 0.125. And we're going to come over to this. You'll see it if you zoom in where this intersects. We're going to put one there, and notice we're still on the. I want to change this back to solid. We want to come back down to here and click on that. So now we've got those two. So we want to hit this apply button because we're going to create a new one, but it's going to be a diameter of 1, and that's going to be up here. So we've got that one to put in there. So now we need to do some arcs. So let's go ahead and hit apply there. And close out of that, we need to sweep some arcs across here. Go to our picture. So those, they don't really tell you. They give you a fillet radius here and a fillet radius here. But this is an arc, and this is an arc, this is an arc. So how you find those radiuses of those arcs is we know it's 2.215 to here. So if we subtract off the radius, we know what this radius is here. And if we subtract off a ½ inch, we'd have this radius right here. So we just got to subtract if we're on this side and add if we're on this side. So to give you an example, for this first one, if we know that it's 2.215 and we bring up our, oops, cancel it, sorry. Bring up our calculator. So we've got our calculator here. So we take this 2.215 and we minus the radius of this out to here is 0.5. So we minus 0.5, we hit equal. 1.715 is this radius right here. So let's go ahead and put that in there. So we're going to go back to the arc, and we'll just go ahead and do, we might be able to do an arc polar endpoints, just try something new, and put in that radius. Remember what that was? That was 1.715. 1.715. And they want to know the start angle. And you could start out here if you wanted to. Oh, we need to give it a center point. Sorry, that was my bad. Let me hit escape and undo. Even your instructor makes mistakes. I'm going to try that same one again and make sure I just didn't. So it wants the start point first, but it doesn't say for the center point, huh? Yeah, so that, I don't like that it doesn't ask me for my center point to start with. So we're going to hit undo one more time, and we're going to go back to thought I'd try something new and see if I could teach you something else, but I'd have to play with that. So we'll go back to arc polar where it asks for the center point. And then, wouldn't you know it, if you come up here and snap right to this bottom of that circle, look at what your radius is over here. It's 1.715, which is exactly what we wanted. So I would go ahead and go, make sure I go past this line right here, anywhere in here, so that we're past this part here, because there's going to be a fillet inside here. And then we'll hit this to apply that one, and then we're going to come in there, and you don't even have to do all the math. You can let the computer do the math. So come down and snap to there. So we can come right to this spot right here. And when I zoomed in, I'm just wheeling my mouse wheel. So we can hit that. This works out pretty slick. You guys don't even have to do the math. So we click here first, and then bring it down till you get to the intersection there. And you got one more to do at the top. So we got to hit the apply. And you go from the center point, and you click out here at the top, and you bring it back down. And this one we want to make sure we come down just past this horizontal part, I would say. So you hit apply. And then this could be the green check mark because you're done. So now you got some trimming to do in this area, and some fillets to do. And this part is then about done. So let's go ahead and put in our fillets. So you've got a fillet entities icon here, and you're going to go ahead and click on that, and let's put the radius in. So you got to look at the drawing. It's a 1.483 for this one. 1.483. 1.483. And it says here trim entities. This time I'm going to take that off. Let's see what it does first. All right, if we click on here and we go to here, this is the one we want to keep, so you got to click on the one you want to keep. So we want to keep this one. See what happens when you trim entities? It lost a whole bunch of stuff. So uncheck that so that it doesn't lose all that stuff. We're going to trim it out afterwards. And then hit this apply anew. And then we need another one inside here. So let's look at that. It's 0.25 for this fillet. So 0.25. We're going to go from here. So we click on this entity and we click over here on this entity. Looks like that's the only one. You can try trim on this one. On this one, it actually works out, doesn't it? So you could go ahead and trim it right away. And go ahead and hit the apply and the green check mark to get out of that. Now, trimming entities, there's a few ways to do that. So let's go to trim. So I'm going to start with one entity to start with. The main thing is here is click what you want to keep. So this, I want to keep this part and I want to delete this. So click first what you want to keep and then come over here to where you want to trim it to. What entity are you going to cut it off at? So it's this one here. So now we've got that trimmed out. That works pretty slick for going about it that way. Sometimes you might do it like this. I'll zoom in. You want to keep this part of the circle and you want to trim to here. But see how it lost all that? No big deal. Just click on that arc and say I want to trim it back to here. And you can close that back in. The other option is to use a delete and divide, but that works out really good down in this area because you can delete this and then you can click here and delete this. That was pretty quick and painless. But sometimes when you got a lot of stuff happening in here, you might have to kind of, well, this isn't even a good example. This one would be maybe better. If you click this, you got to click here, then you got to click right here, and then you got to click right here. It would have been faster to use the one entity in that situation. So I would those are kind of the two that we use the most. So that's basically all the drawing geometry that you would need to do to complete this lesson. And the next thing would be to start dimensioning it, adding layers for a dimension layer. Also the machining part of things, actually setting up tool paths, that type of stuff. But now you know how to draw tutorial 3 exercise 2. Don't forget to save it. So when you save it, what I would save it as is tutorial 3 exercise 2, and then probably would put RW, which is my initials. Make sure you never use a period. You don't want to put a period here because you're putting your initials. You never use a period because it thinks that that's a type of extension. Because if you look up here, .emcam is a Mastercam extension. You put a .w there, it's going to think that that's part of a program that opens it. So never use dots. Dashes are fine. You would never want to use a slash. That's not a good symbol to use. It will think that that's a location. You know, there's just certain things that you want to stay away from with some special characters and things like that. If you don't want to have spaces, a nice way to do that is to go back and hit a shift and a dash, and that's an underscore. So you could do a space that way and make it look nice. So go ahead and save it to your Z drive. In your case, it would be probably easier. I got a lot of stuff, but here's my R Ward folder. You should see your username there and store it on there, not on your local My Documents computer settings. So make sure you're saving it and you know where you're saving it, and it's not on the C drive, not the C drive, but on your Z drive. So go ahead and save it, and that's it for this video. I hope it helps you and you get a good grade.